Thanks for nice introduction, sir, and thanks to the organizer for giving chance to be in the elite panel of this conference. So my topic is challenges in the antiplatelet therapy and anticoagulant therapy in the current era. You are aware that antiplatelet therapy is a cornerstone in the management of CAD and acute coronary syndrome. The aspirin and clopidogrel enjoying the monopoly since last more than 25 years. But newer P2Y12 inhibitors like prasugrel and ticagrelor is engulfed in the space of clopidogrel. Although there are lots of lacunas with aspirin, but aspirin still enjoys the monopoly in the management of intervention field. Because of virtue of its multiple trials, the meta-analysis of more than 287 trials counting more than 135,000 patients has shown significant reduction in the mortality, morbidity, and MACE. Although there are many major drawbacks like significant GI bleeding, allergic reactions. It is a very modest antithrombotic drug, and aspirin resistance is quite well known. Almost one-third patient may develop aspirin resistance. The aspirin resistance depend on the dose also. Okay, lower the dose, higher chances of aspirin resistance. So that's why we are recommending 150 mg of aspirin with clopidogrel and 75 to 100 mg of aspirin with clopidogrel or ticagrelor. In spite of all these things, aspirin enjoy the usage indefinitely in the patients of acute coronary syndrome because of its legacy of 40 years. Then came into the picture is a clopidogrel. It's a ADP receptor blocker, prevents more than 26% more event when compared with aspirin, and is almost as safe as aspirin. Meta-analysis more than 30,000 patients has shown when we add clopidogrel with aspirin, it can reduce significant mortality, MI, and strokes. But there are challenges with clopidogrel therapy as well because it is again a modest antiplatelet therapy. Significant inter-patient variability is observed with this drug. The onset of drug is very slow, and again, the drug resistance is quite high. Again, 30 to 35% of the patient may develop resistance, and in such situation, the stent thrombosis chances are very high. In spite of giving very high dose, that 300 mg or 600 mg, even 900 mg of bolus of clopidogrel, the platelet inhibition is hardly 40%, maximum 45%. So it is a very modest antiplatelet therapy. That's the reason why these potent and efficacious drugs like prasugrel and ticagrelor is engulfing its space. But still, there are specific indications of clopidogrel in the field of coronary intervention. That is, those patients going for PCI on warfarin and NOACs, AF patients, they are already receiving warfarin and NOACs, then the drug of choice is clopidogrel, not the prasugrel or clopidogrel. Second specific indication, those who are the patient who are going for thrombolysis rather than intervention, then you have to load the patient with clopidogrel. The ticagrelor and prasugrel are relatively contraindicated. And third, the ESC guidelines I mentioned, in a patient going for PCI, patient subset of chronic stable angina for 6 months, they recommend clopidogrel, not as a prasugrel or ticagrelor. Then came very potent efficacious drugs, that is P2Y12 inhibitors. They act on the ADP induced platelet aggregation. They are very rapid, persistent with a greater platelet inhibition, with very high platelet inhibition, almost 80 to 90% inhibitions of the platelet is observed with both these drugs. And there is hardly any interpatient variability. Most of the patients get adequate results. The prasugrel efficacy has been shown by various trials. Okay, amongst that, Triton, huge trial, more than 13,000 patients followed for 15 months, has shown significant MACE, that is CV death, MI, and stroke, almost 19% reduction when compared with clopidogrel, with marginal increment in the bleeding tendency. A particular good news for the intervention cardiologist that stent thrombosis was observed 50% less those who are receiving prasugrel. And secondly, in a diabetic subset, these drugs is more wonderful because normal population, the benefits are 19%, but in diabetic subset, the benefits are more than 30%, and the bleeding chances are almost equal. So there are certain challenges with the prasugrel usage, because we cannot use this drug if the weight is less than 60. Either we have to change to other drug, or we have to reduce the dose. We should not use this drug, or we should use cautiously after the age of 75 years. It is contraindicated if there is history of stroke and TI, and particularly in Asian population, Indian population, as AUC is more than 20% more, so the chances of bleeding are always higher in Asians and Indians. So we must know the coronary anatomy before starting this drug, and the benefits are found only the patients of acute coronary syndrome, those who are going for PCI. Those who are taking only medical treatment, the benefits are not there, shown by trialogy trial. This should not be started if patient is likely to go for bypass surgery, and bleeding chances are always high, so be watchful. So in spite of all these limitations and challenges, there are few indications of prasugrel. That is, if there is history of stent thrombosis, always better to use prasugrel rather than other molecules. If there is history of recurrent myocardial infarction, then prasugrel is a better choice, because that is documented in this trial. And diabetic high-risk patients, again, the benefits are more when compared with non-diabetic population. There are specific 3 indications of prasugrel uses. Then comes into picture in 2009, the ticagrelor. Again, a large trial, Plateau trial, more than 17,000 patients, has shown significant reduction in the MACE, almost 60% reduction in the MACE, with very minimal increase in the bleeding tendencies. So almost 16% reduction in the MACE, with a very marginal increment in bleeding tendency. Although there is data is available with acute coronary syndrome, data is available with chronic coronary syndrome, chronic stable patients, like Pegasus trial, Euclid trial, and Themis trial. But this Sweetheart trial is a large observation study, more than 5,000 patients observed for 2 years. They found that there was significant reduction in the primary outcome, significant reduction in the CV death, and significant reduction in the risk of MI. So this became a drug of choice. So we have to choose amongst these 4 drugs. I have mentioned some indications, specific indications of clopidogrel and prasugrel, but clopidogrel nowadays is a choice of most of the intervention cardiologists. But still, clopidogrel rules the world, because it's a molecule of rural India. It's a molecule of district level. Probably the potent molecule like prasugrel and ticagrelor might not have reached there. Okay, so which drug regimen, which drugs to be selected, what the guidelines says. Guidelines says that if patient is acute coronary syndrome, patient going for PCI, 12 months DAPT is recommended. If the bleeding risk is high, 6 month DAPT is recommended. And those patients are treated with medical treatment after ACS, 12 month DAPT. If the bleeding risk is very high, then 1 month DAPT followed by remaining 12 months SAPT. Which drug basically ESC recommends in a chronic stable patient going for PCI, then 6 month therapy of DAPT, and particularly that time you can use aspirin and clopidogrel. There are certain indication of extension of therapy also, but in acute coronary syndrome, whether non-STEMI or STEMI, you have to replace the clopidogrel by prasugrel or ticagrelor. And there are certain indications of extension of the DAPT, depending on various scores, like precise DAPT score or DAPT score or Lucid score. If the score is more, it means patient is likely to bleed more. So in such situation, we have to give a short-term therapy, or you have to stop after 12 months of therapy. If the score is less than 2 in DAPT score, or in Crusade less than 40, or in precise DAPT less than 25, it means patient is not likely to bleed significantly. So such patient can be given extension of DAPT therapy. This DAPT therapy extension is documented by various trial and meta-analysis of more than 10 trials. Okay, this DAPT extension is applicable in subset of patients shown in this slide. That is acute coronary syndrome patient, PVD patient, patient with diabetes, patient with renal dysfunction, patient with smoking, patient with a congestive cardiac failure with LV function less than 30, complex procedures, stent size less than millimeter, vein graft intervention, high CAD burden, and old generation stent. That time you can extend the DAPT therapy. What is a complex procedure? if the stent strength is more than 60, more than 3 vessel treating, left main procedures, and proximal LAD or CTO. These are the 6 complex procedure. Any out of one mentions that this is a complex procedure. Okay, here we are measuring the extension of the therapy. There are so many interventional cardiologists who are trying for a short-term DAPT in a high-risk bleeding patient. So where we should give a less duration therapy. These are the subset where short-term therapy should be given. The points, that is patient on NOACs, patients age more than 75, failed patient, anemia, chronic renal failure patient, patient, any history of bleeding in last year, prior stroke. So such patients should be given shorter DAPT therapy. This is already nicely proved by 2 last trials, that is Twilight trial and Envelope and Evolve trial. They have given short-term therapy for 3 months followed by SAPT, single therapy, and they found that the short-term therapy also equally effective as far as the MACE is concerned, and bleeding chances are quite less. So basically, you have to titrate ischemic events and bleeding events whenever you think of short-term versus long-term DPT therapy. In spite of all these newer molecules and guideline recommend therapy, there is significant residual risk, almost 10 to 15%, and which is increasing. So there is a need of some molecule, added molecule, which can reduce this residual risk further. This is shown that Capri, Karishma, Pegasus trial, that there is still significant risk, residual risk remaining. So there is a new concept of whenever there is a plaque rupture, not only platelet get activated, there is activation of coagulation system as well. So you have to give a combination of antiplatelet therapy with anticoagulant therapy, which are nicely shown in this campus trial, which has shown significant reduction in the MACE, and the MACE reduction was even better than the clopidogrel and Pegasus anticoagulant trial. So dear friends, so in high-risk patients particularly, the ESC recommends the use of low dose or vascular dose of rivaroxaban with aspirin in a patient of high-risk ischemic patient. Okay, so dear friends, antiplatelets therapy seems to be easy, but actually very challenging. Challenges include which drug to be chosen, what is the duration, long term versus short term. You have to balance between the ischemic risk, bleeding risk. Newer convincing data is coming, but not in guidelines. So antiplatelet therapy with anticoagulant therapy can be recommended in certain patients. Okay, thank you very much.
So let me introduce, the pleasure of introducing Professor J.C. Mohan, who is a very accomplished cardiologist, a very good interventional cardiologist, and an extremely good in academics. Chairman, Institute of Heart and Vascular Disorders at Jaipur Golden Hospital at New Delhi. He's a member of the National Academy of Medical Sciences since 1988, member and honorary fellow of American College of Echocardiography, past president of Indian Academy of Echocardiography, past president of Cardiological Society of India. And he has more than 250 original scientific publications to his credit, has contributed to more than 50 chapters in various reputed textbooks of cardiology. And he's on the editorial board of Indian Journal of Cardiology, European Heart Journal, Cardiovascular Imaging, Global Heart Journal of American Society of Echocardiography. And he's also, was awarded the Sujay Birod Gold Medal for Young Investigator in 1988. So, and he also got the Searle Award for Best Investigator in 1988 by the Cardiological Society of India. So, I mean, it's very rare to have a physician who is equally good in academics and interventional cardiology and also in non-invasive cardiology. And we are very fortunate that we have him here to speak in our conference. And he would be speaking today on role of antihypertension in the prevention and management of heart failure. Because this is the third pillar, as I was talking about vascular health. And if we can maintain our blood pressure to normal levels, we can actually maintain our vascular health, and we do not require these interventions or surgeries for acute vascular emergencies. So I present to you Dr. J.C. Mohan. Welcome, sir.